We're not singing the goddamn song.
No
Anyway.
Which
fun. No fun.
Which one? There's like 4 Linked Horizon songs for this show.
And they're all excellent, and I refuse to butcher them. In any case, we were given a review code, presumably by Koei Tecmo Games, I think, for Attack on Titan 2: The Final Battle, which is the expansion pack for Attack on Titan 2. Comes in a bundle with the full game now, and I'm not actually going to show the expansion pack content in this because it's all Season 3 stuff, and I haven't even watched Season 3 in the fucking anime yet, so consider this an impressions video for the main game. But yeah, they've added stuff to this game that's been out for a while. It now covers up to Season 3, I suppose. I'm not sure.
Yep, all the way through Season 3.
Yeah. It was Seasons 1 and 2, although from what I understand, the game was mostly Season 1. I'm not really sure why it balanced out that way, but it did. And the main hook for this game, although it does have like several different modes that you can play the story through, and I'm not really sure why. The main hook for this game is that you can create your own little self-insert soldier and get eaten by a Titan in this world where nothing ever goes right for anyone. It's just what I've always wanted. I tell a lie. It's not.
Oh boy, we're doomed.
It's not as simple as that. Although you do have to watch everyone who dies in the show die in the game the first time you play through. They actually did do a cool thing where, like, after you've played through the story, you can go back to previous missions and save the people who died, and then do social links with them.
Yay.
So Thomas and what's her name? Mina? I think her name's Mina. The one with the pigtail things.
During Aaron's first mission where he got everyone killed.
Yeah, she's the one who gets killed by that real creepily looking tiny Titan with a huge head.
The Kawaii Titan.
Yeah, the Koei Titan.
It has a
Exactly.
name. Like,
All the ones that kill people have nicknames according to the fandom.
The manga author put a disturbing amount of effort into making the Titans both really derpy and really distinctive from one another. So, they all have names.
according to Isayama, the idea for the Titans came from watching people being not quite human enough while they're walking around in stupid trunk.
In any case, so the cutscenes do this thing where a lot of the time you're in first-person mode, but these are pre-rendered, so the first-person cutscenes don't exactly reflect the changes you've made to your avatar. So,
I guess that's one way to do it, I suppose.
It's an interesting way because the Titans are known for being so huge. It's a great way to kind of change the viewpoint of the battles in this series because obviously in the manga and the show you're in third person the entire time.
Yeah, it's pretty cool seeing like these Titan situations in first person. They don't do quite enough with it from what I played, but this opening was pretty cool where you're this random soldier and you see the female Titan transform from a distance and then she just runs directly over you and misses you on the way. But yeah, so you.
But is it Mr. Coconut Head? In Horseface.
So the setup for the main character's avatar is that you're keeping this scouting journal, and you're like absurdly detailed about everything except yourself. So the people who find this journal in the future don't know whether you're a male or a female, or what your name is, or anything. You're just some anonymous soldier who kept an absurdly detailed scouting journal. So they're reading the events of the past through your journal. You don't actually do a whole lot. It's kind of like a White Knight Chronicles deal, where you're this avatar character that just exists to have an avatar character, who's sort of tagging along on some other main character's journey. Yeah, and they turned into giants too, now that I think about it. Funny.
It's a little weird because it's hard to make a series like Attack on Titan that's so narratively focused but has big battles to not rely on just retelling the story again and again in games.
Yeah. That's unfortunate, yeah. But they kind of went a little overboard on Attack on Titan 2 when it comes to that, because I'm pretty sure they just halfway recycled the entire Season 1 campaign from the first Attack on Titan. For the first Attack on Titan game. Sorry, I lost my breath there.
So I haven't watched Attack on Titan in years. I think the first season came out like what, 2014 or something like that.
Around there.
Yeah, and it was huge back then. I feel like it's kind of been overtaken in kind of like relevance in the past couple of years, which goes to show how quick trends change because everybody's all.
It's still quite popular.
It's still quite popular.
It's not as popular.
It's popular enough that they could have given this game an English dub, but you know, Koei Tecmo doesn't seem to want to do that with their anime games. I guess they figured, you know, just leaving everything Japanese worked for Sword Art Online, and it'll work for Attack on Titan. It kind of bugs me here in a way it doesn't for Sword Art Online, though. Because this is a very Western-inspired setting. In fact, it's a Western-inspired setting that goes out of its way to have Asian characters and establish them as coming from somewhere else. So, I kind of expect
everyone else has like German names.
Yeah, and you know what? It's kind of like Full Metal Alchemist in that way. I'd rather be watching this in German than in Japanese because it just makes more sense. But you know, that's just me. I like watching like Yakuza and even some anime in Japanese. I like watching Blue Reflection in Japanese. But when it's something like FMA or Attack on Titan, I would rather it be English or some other European language. I don't know why that's such a sticking point for me, but it is. By the way, the character creation system, which we are about to witness in this game, is actually really absurdly detailed, and I had to cut out most of my fiddling with it for this video. But, like, you get quite a lot of control over what your character looks like. You can change the size and shape of their nose, their mouth, their eyes, their pupils, their eyebrows. In fact, I think the eyebrows are like the least customizable thing. You can only like customize their thickness and their position, which surprised me because you can move around the other parts of your face to your heart's content, but your eyebrows are just like, hey, there's a line here. It's a line. Yeah, it can be thicker. But yeah, okay, so we have this pretty detailed character customization thing, and probably the funniest thing about it is that you can change the color of your uniform.
Wouldn't
so
that
it's like
be going against protocol or something?
Yeah, I in my current game, I'm running around in this like midnight black military jacket and skirt with like a red undershirt and forest green vest, and it's like no one's commenting on it. I think they're all intimidated by how tall I am. The only character in the game who's as tall as my current avatar is the goddamn drill instructor, who I'm pretty sure set his tallness to max 2 when he customized his avatar. It's like I stand in front of Krista, and she's like craning her neck to look up at me, and it's so cute. The best thing is that when you make a really tall avatar, okay, when you go to talk to people in the town section of this game, the camera always zooms into a first-person perspective, and the camera is positioned exactly where your model's face is. So the characters are looking up or down at you according to how tall or short you are. So I'm just a giant, and everyone in the game except the drill instructor is craning their neck to look up at me, and they're doing it with a smile because it's anime. Yeah.
Yeah. If you were the male shonen hero, you'd have to be really short because that's generic shonen trait number 73. Right behind eats way too much, and right before is super super dumb. So.
Actually, the only short shonen protagonist I know of is Edward Elric.
Naruto's pretty short.
He's about average size from what I can tell.
I think the shortness thing just comes from like the Japanese tend to run short in terms of average height, but you know,
yeah,
it's just funny how short all the other characters in this series are, except for the drill instructor. Although that I'm not really sure how much of that is like just the upper limits of the height setting being so ridiculous. Yeah. You can change the size, the angle, the position of your eyes and everything. I faded past all that because it's like, Hey.
You see, it's the Skyrim thing where you get the intro, and then you spend the next 3 hours making your character.
Well,
and
in
you forget what the heck
I
you're
mean,
supposed to do.
In Skyrim's case, it's just because the character customization in Skyrim is a piece of ass. I'm sorry, it's terrible.
I was going to say, to be fair, I would, if you're going to make a create a character mode, I would prefer it to be as detailed as possible, so you can actually,
Create a
do stuff
character
with it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's like if it's an MMORPG, I can understand it being a little underwhelming in terms of detail because that stuff all has to render in real time like a million billion times in everyone's game. So yeah, if the character creation in an MMO is simple, it's because they're optimizing the game properly. If the character customization in a single player game is simple, it's because they didn't put in enough effort. And I'm glad to see that they put in enough effort this time. Anyway, yeah.
What's
so
your OC's backstory, Lewis?
my OC's backstory? Oh, well, the game gives you a backstory.
Aw, damn it.
Yeah, you were some kid who was running away from the wall when it was first attacked at the beginning of the story. Shiganshina?
Shiganshina, yeah.
Shiganshima, that's the one. And the armored titan broke through the wall after you escaped that area and threw a giant boulder into your parents' face. And you saw them crushed by a giant boulder in front of your eyes, which isn't quite as dramatic as what Aaron saw his mother being eaten in front of his eyes by. But, you happen to be on the same boat as Aaron when he's making his dramatic childhood revenge speech, and he inspires you to go to try and get revenge on the armored titan, so you're joining up for that. So you're always trailing behind the main characters, sort of like the cast of characters from Lord of the Rings: The Third Age. You're on all the same missions and stuff. You don't quite make it to the top 10, but everyone thinks you're strong enough to have made it there. Everyone was expecting you to. Yeah, you're that kind of amazing self-insert. And yeah, that's basically the setup. The cool thing though is that you get to do social links, and I mean literal social links with the entire goddamn cast of Attack on Titan. And your reward for doing this is as you rank up with characters, you get skills that you can equip. Stuff like, you spend less gas on movement during missions, or you get a stat boost, or an additional move that you can do under certain circumstances, that kind of thing. You get to make...
So it's a very customizable character.
Yeah. And the story itself is kind of like a Cliff Notes version, as you would expect, but they do some slightly clever things with this avatar setup. You can make friends with characters, and the tutorial for this is all the characters who fucking die early on. So they force you to make friends with these characters, and if you haven't watched the show, you don't know that these guys are going to get their heads bitten off or something. Pretty early on in the story.
Do they look like a main character? No, then they're dead.
Well, sometimes even the people who do look like main characters die.
Yeah, I mean, the author was going to kill Mikasa, and the editor had to say no. Okay, dial it back, man.
Do we know how much longer the show is planning on going for?
One more season for next year. The manga's almost done.
Oh, okay. So they're not overstaying their welcome, thankfully.
No.
Which is, I think, good for a show or / franchise like this, because the first thing I think of, one of the reasons why I haven't picked it back up again is because I tried reading The Walking Dead, and The Walking Dead starts off really, really good, but then after a couple dozen issues, you're like, oh my god, I'm dead inside and don't want to read this anymore. And which to be fair, that is the tone they're going for, which is fine. But at the same time, you can only keep that going, and then there's another 50 issues that I have to keep on reading, and I'm like, okay, I'm done. Okay, thanks. So keeping it brief enough is
if you've seen just the first season, I do recommend 2 and 3. They're significantly better.
Oh, okay. You see, that's good because I actually did like season 1. I know that it's somewhat divisive.
Season 1 is kind of overly depressing in a lot of ways.
So it gets less depressing.
It mixes out the depressing with actually stuff happening.
Okay, that's good because I think one of the things about season 1 is it's okay, we're gonna fight, we're gonna win, and then we die, and then
and we're gonna fight, we're gonna win, and then everyone dies again.
Yeah, granted, this is not the kind of show where you get a real full on nothing bad happens victory, but it kind of felt like the wins were too few and far between. you know.
Yeah, no, it gets better after that point.
Okay. I know what you're talking about now.
Hello, giant lady. Are you sure you're not a Titan?
Up in the sky, it's a bird. It's a plane.
I stand next to Annie, and she's like so short next to me. It's like, you'll never guess who the female Titan is.
You see, when I was watching the show for the first time, I did guess that Annie was a Titan. I didn't figure. I was actually legitimately surprised when I had the Roly Titan, I think it was, or no, it was the Colossal Titan. I had that spoiled for me. I was like, oh, I never would have guessed that guy was that Titan. So
the Colossal Titan is like the only one who doesn't have like some facial feature of the human who belongs to him.
I won't spoil it, but the way they reveal those two in the show is amazing. Well, same in the manga, but yeah.
The Roly one and the Colossal one?
The Armor Titan and the Colossal Titan, yeah.
Okay. Did they finally get to that stupid basement?
Yep.
Was it worth it?
It changes a lot, yes.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, they drew that story arc out a lot. Like, they had to go through, what, the female Titan, the Revolution, and a whole bunch of other crap before they even got around to going to check for that stuff. I mean, Jesus. Yikes.
Do they purposefully keep Eren away from you as much as possible in this?
No, he's right there.
He's right here,
Oh,
yeah.
okay. All right.
You go up to talk to Eren, and then Mikasa just immediately teleports behind him and gives you a death glare.
Well, I mean, you're kind of on the same missions as Eren. In Attack on Titan 1, the game that they did before this, you were playing as like the main characters from the story, and there's a mode where you play episodes of the story as the other characters as well, so that's still in here. But one of the things that you would do pretty early on is actually play as Eren in his Titan form, and didn't really like it much. I'm kind of glad I don't have to deal with that in the story mode.
It feels like the thrill of playing an Attack on Titan game would be, to be swinging around all Spider-Man-like and swinging your swords around.
Yeah. Oh,
I mean,
she's so short.
I mean, I'm sure that like playing as the Titan would be its own thing. Like, I mean, I'm sure that could be really fun, if it wasn't. But Eren also spends a lot of the time in his Titan form, so it's since he's the main character, it feels like gameplay-wise you might be in it a little bit too much if you were to just go by the show.
Well, it's not like Attack on Titan 1 just had you playing as Eren. Like, you'd play as, like, Levi and stuff as well. Just whoever was important at the time.
Short Batman himself.
Yeah, but because the story mode is like from the perspective of an avatar. Why are you looking up at the sky? I'm down here. I'm not that tall. Oh, okay. Good.
Well, if it isn't Potato Girl.
Why don't you steal some meat from the officer's ration stores? The best answer is actually, we should recover land from the Titans, because she gets really pumped up about that. Yeah, you get these dialogue choices with your friends, and there's some options that increase your friendship a little bit, and there's some options that increase them a lot. Not every conversation has those, but, they're there.
Can you lower friendship at any point?
I don't think you can, no. You increase...
No, I think it's just 3 different tiers of friendship gained.
Yeah. And don't worry about it too much if you don't select the right options, because you can take your friends out on side missions later on and just farm friendship that way. Or you can play as those characters in other modes and farm friendship that way. I don't know why that affects story mode, but it does. For some reason, Jean is really easy to get levels on early on. I don't know where I learned how to do this, but I did, and fuck you. Goodbye.
Oh, she has the princess laugh.
Yeah, I didn't know that when I selected the voice. It would be a lot. It would be a lot easier to select voices that fit the character you're trying to make if they spoke in English, and you could get an actual real idea of what their tone was like. But they don't, so I can't.
So your swords break like in the show. I see.
Yeah, they have durability.
And you can run out of gas.
Yeah, they have durability. You have gas tanks, and you can stock up on a certain number of gas tanks and blades, depending on what your equipment loadout is. And you can upgrade equipment for better durability or better gas capacity, better gas pressure for higher speed, that kind of stuff. It's a pretty decent system. And there are also some really crazy customization items. Some of the swords that you can equip look like they came out of frickin' Final Fantasy. There's the spirit blades and the spirit tank, and it's like, wow, okay, I don't fit in at all. And yeah, one of the things you're encouraged to do while fighting Titans is to take out certain body parts, which will generate additional material drops at the end of the mission for you. They're always indicated with like these little gold nugget icons over a certain body part. They did animate the cutscenes pretty okay, but I say that the story is still a Cliff Notes version because you're not getting a lot of the character stuff in the middle that builds up to scenes like this. Like,
yeah, this one of those you really should be playing this after you've read or watched it.
yeah, yeah.
That kind of is the case for most anime games, though.
Unfortunately, because they want to get you to the game part and not just,
Yeah.
make you watch an entire episode of anime or something.
Yeah, because unfortunately, the action in the anime is important, but it's the other stuff that's more important because it's what makes the action have stakes. But the other stuff is not as fun to play / watch in a game setting when the whole point of the game is the wish fulfillment of actually doing the stuff in the anime. In this case, fighting the Titans.
Yeah.
And in other games, like doing the Dragon Ball laser beam.
They do use that dynamic in a fairly intelligent way in this game because, like, as I said, you have these conversations with your social links in the town segments, and the answers to those conversations that get you the most friendship points are the ones that display the best knowledge of who the character is. Like, and sometimes, it's more a knowledge of their temperament than a knowledge of their motivations. Like, if you talk to Annie and say she's going into the military police for the same reason as Marco, she's going to tell you no. If you tell her she's going in for the same reason as Jean, which is true, she's just going to look at you like you insulted her because you did. You have to know enough about her to not answer either way and to just ask her why so she can answer in her own way. And that gets you friendship points. And there's stuff like Sasha, where you can tell her to sneak into the military into the military officer's meat storeroom to get food, and she likes that idea. But you tell her that we'll have plenty of food if we reclaim our land from the Titans, and she likes that idea more. Which, if you've read the manga or watched the show, you know that's something she suggested after stealing meat from the officer's meat locker. Oh! Sometimes, this is what happens when the Titans have, like, their full attention on you. If they do this, they're about to pounce on you, and I recommend a bit of caution, because that can be nasty. There are a few other tactics that I didn't actually know about while I was playing the game, though. Like, you can sneak attack the Titans by pulling out your spyglass, looking at the Titan from a distance, letting this little meter quickly build up, and then hitting triangle. You'll, like, immediately zip toward them, and you'll have to time the triangle button just as you hit the Titan so that you can one-shot them in the back of the neck.
How much health do you generally have in this? Because I don't see, like, a bar anywhere.
I don't think there's, like, really health. There's, like, an injured status that happens the first time you get grabbed by a Titan. And if you don't heal yourself before you get hit again, you'll die. Okay. But for the most part, being killed mostly means you got grabbed by a Titan and didn't mash triangle enough to escape. And they eat you, and you're dead. So it's not really a health thing. I'm not really sure how health plays into anti-personnel battles later in the game, because one of the things they added for the Season 3 stuff was guns and anti-personnel ODM machines.
So you fight humans and not just Titans?
Yeah, which I think, like, you get stuff like the Kenny chase as a playable sequence and such. It's in the intro FMV anyway, so I assume it's in there somewhere in one of the character episodes. I'm not sure if the Avatar-based story mode goes into Season 3 or not. That's a question I have yet to answer. Because I actually haven't played past the point where we're still trying to reclaim Trost. They spend a lot of time in Trost.
It's probably because it's the most iconic part of the show for people who haven't, like, watched it.
Well, beyond the first episode, anyway.
Yeah, it's kind of why Dragon Ball stuff keeps on doing the Vegeta and Frieza stuff over and over and over and over and over.
And over.
Yeah.
Did they cover this stuff? You said that they covered this stuff when they did the first game, right?
Yeah, and the first game was just Season 1, so there wasn't a whole lot of material to work with there.
I find it interesting that they're doing Season 1 again then for the sequel, as opposed
Well,
to...
it's essentially like they had one try. They had their first try with Attack on Titan Wings of whatever, and they essentially just did a second version of the same game with this avatar system, because it turned out the kind of gameplay they were trying to do in that game made more sense with this sort of avatar system where you're running around talking to friends rather than switching protagonists every couple missions. You know, it really does work. It gives the campaign more cohesion in its way, and then you can play the character episodes to switch protagonists all the time and play their versions of the story, and you know, best of both worlds. But
it is really cool, I do have to say, to see everybody flying around and stuff in real time.
The downside to this is that the controls are kind of complicated.
Oh, I imagine.
It's almost like trying to maneuver around Spider-Man, like in the situation would be really complicated.
Yeah, you know, it's that kind of... It's... Unfortunately, just due to the concept, it seems really, really cool, but it also... you'd have to really simplify things in order to make it kind of a pick-up-and-play kind of game, which I feel like they're not really trying to go for. Or at least I don't feel like maybe it's not the best idea to try to go for, because the entire idea of this franchise, or at least the fights, is that these guys are really, really, really hard to take down, not just anybody can do it. So I feel like in terms of making the game feel like the show, control shouldn't be bad, because I don't want to advocate for bad control, but it shouldn't feel like it's effortless, I guess is the best way to put it. Like, is it just a learning curve kind of deal? Or
it's a learning curve, yeah.
Okay.
It's like there's like two full tutorial missions where you're just going up against training dummies, and it's not as boring as it sounds like it could be, because there is a competitive element there. You're competing with the other AI teams in order to slay the most Titans in the least amount of time. So the most Titan dummies, I suppose. Oh. I'll be fine. It's fine. Oh,
ow. Again.
I'll be good.
We entered Mad World mode. Oh shit.
Man. But you know, the gameplay itself could be likened to Dynasty Warriors. Except instead of fighting repetitive hordes of easily dispatched mooks, you're fighting these things. Which, honestly, I prefer this to Dynasty Warriors, but, you know, that's just me.
What makes you say that it's similar to Dynasty
The structure of the missions. You have a big-ass open battle arena, and you have to run around doing side missions and constructing bases and stuff to direct the flow of battle, you know?
Okay.
And you have
that does sound.
Yeah, you have AI soldiers running around fighting Titans on their own, and you have a squad of up to 4 people that you recruit yourself. And I'm not actually doing anything with those in this video because I hadn't realized how useful they were until I restarted the game to play it through on my own. But you can like target specific body points, and if your party member has a sword next to their icon, you can hold L1 and hit the directional button that corresponds to that character, and they will immediately zip in and attack that body part for you. So you can just like do two attacks, two teammate attacks in a row and slice off a limb, and it is really useful for hobbling the Titans. And then there's
the AI helpers as useless as they can be in Dynasty Warriors?
The AI people in this game have a seem to be a combination of they don't do anything, but they don't ever get in the way either.
Okay, because you know there's nothing more irritating than I can't get the base. There's 2 guys.
Fox, help me!
Yeah, I mean there are times when they'll send up distress calls and you'll need to go help them, but those seem to be scripted events.
Yeah.
And some of them only happen like on the after you've cleared the story. Like after you've cleared the story, you can replay this mission. At least I think it's this mission. It might be the mission before that. It's the mission before it probably. And you'll get a distress call from Mina and Thomas, and you can save them in that mission, and that counts as saving them in the story. So they'll start to appear in the town sections again, and you can do your social links with them from that point on. I think other characters like Ian and the Levi squad are other options that you can save. There are a lot of characters who die in this series, and there are a lot of them that you can save if you replay the missions later on.
Can you save the ones that become evil from becoming evil?
I don't.
Because you said you could get friendship points with Annie.
I don't think so, but the way you get friendship points with those characters seems to be paced out so that you'll max out your friendships with them before they go evil. So.
Oh, Akechi then. Alright, gotcha.
Yeah.
This guy's on fire.
Yeah, these big titans are sort of boss titans, and I don't know where they fit into the anime because I'm pretty sure we never saw anything like this in the anime. But
no, they're just boss enemies.
basically what happens is parts of them glow green, and those are their weak points. And you attack those points to lower their stamina meter and stun them. And while they're stunned is when you can do real damage to them. So if you want to get the materials from these big guys, you need to stun them, and then waste their entire stun period attacking the limbs with the gold nugget icons on them. And then repeat that until the limb goes away and you can generate the material piece. This would be going a lot faster if I were playing with my teammates, but I'm sort of trying to brute force it myself because I didn't realize how useful the teammates would be. Oh, Jesus. He knows I'm here. Okay. Took you long enough, jackass.
And I'm guessing the letter grade is how good those people are at like fighting and stuff. So
Yeah.
you've got the D rank mooks, and then you've got the B rank people who are, you know, just normal characters, and Mikasa is an S because she's the
She's
best
Mikasa.
character in the show.
She's Mikasa, yeah, she's an S
She is better than both the Aaron and the John combined.
Does she remain the best character in the show for later in the show?
I think she's sort of.
No,
I think from,
Levi is still better.
Yeah. I think she's like second best compared to Levi, who's.
Well, I mean, I don't mean best character in the show. I mean best character in the show.
I mean, your mileage may vary on a lot of things.
Your mileage may vary. Yeah, I'm a little iffy on how the show handled her relationship with Aaron. Like, why did they have to bring romance into it? I don't.
Oh, they make them romantic.
They tried to make her romantically inclined.
Well, that's
yeah.
kind of the thing. Like, I can see Aaron getting a crush on her, but not Mikasa having a traditional romantic crush.
They do that because anime tropes. Oh, Jesus. I forgot how destructible the environments are. That's actually seriously cool. But, you know... Oh. Okay, so... My problem with the Mikasa relationship is because they're going for, like, a pretty generic anime trope there, okay? Girl must be feminine, so girl likes boy. Boy must be oblivious, so boy has no clue. And it was just so much more interesting from a character standpoint when Mikasa was entirely focused on this, like, weird personal reason she has for being obsessed with her family, you know? So, I don't know, I just feel like they went and cheapened Mikasa's character by going for, like, the lowest common denominator.
Oh well, that's a shame.
On the other hand, the anime looks a hell of a lot better than the manga, so...
The manga is very weirdly paced, especially if you are a monthly reader.
The manga is very rough. Very rough.
Well, I mean, some of the early animation was pretty rough too. Like all.
No, I don't mean the animation. I just mean the art style. Like it looks rough. It's like, you know how like early on in a lot of manga stories, the artist hasn't quite gotten art down, and all the characters look a bit wonky. You see it like in early Inuyasha, early Yu-Gi-Oh.
Oh yeah, early Yu-Gi-Oh is really funny looking, and I mean that in the best possible way. Some of that stuff is like gold to look at.
Yeah, it's got the same sort of thing going on in the manga, only not. Only it looks more like a deliberate art style, and I guess it probably is because of the way the Titans look. The anime has a more clean look to it, which I honestly prefer quite a lot. It can be really weird trying to find a good angle on a flailing titan who has like one limb left. Because they're
crap, there's another one.
That guy's got an arm and a leg and he's trying to stand up, but he just can't do it. And yeah, sometimes while you're attacking the bosses, these titans from other parts of the arena will shamble in, and you'll have to deal with them.
And you have to go for the neck in order to kill them. Like
You have to go for the back of the neck specifically, so if they turn around while you're charging at them, it's a problem. Yeah. Whoops. Okay.
So I'm looking at the items you have right now. The gas, swords, and healing are a little bit obvious. What is the star?
That's a flash grenade, and flash grenades they're actually pretty useful. They can distract titans whose attention has been diverted to you. And you can see Gene has a flash grenade icon next to his face over there on the side too. He uses a flash grenade when you try to use his buddy action. Flash grenades also render titans vulnerable to sneak attacks again, so you can flash grenade them to stun them, and then immediately pull out your spyglass and pull a sneak attack on them. So it's actually a pretty convenient, quick way to kill a titan, or at least the minor titans, not the bosses. If you try, you can sneak attack these boss titans, but you'll just wind up doing damage to them. It's not very useful. But for any regular old titan, you can do a hell of a lot of damage with a sneak attack, and usually it results in a one-hit kill.
Yeah, I see you started using the
friend actions.
The friend actions now, and it does seem to be making them go a lot quicker.
Yeah. Yeah. They don't do as much damage as you do when they attack, but they do a significant enough damage that, like, if you're pretty sure your own attack won't delimb the titan on its own, you can preemptively have, like, Sasha swoop in and attack the leg before you charge in and attack the leg yourself, and it'll take out the leg pretty quickly.
You can also alternate between them, so it have like a cooldown timer, but if you know how to do it right, you can have one on you at all times.
Yeah, but there are different types of buddy actions. Like there's a buddy action that uses a healing item on you, and there are certain buddies who, when you're grabbed by a titan, their icon will change to a little heart, and you can use their buddy action to break you out of the titan's grip, instead of busting yourself out. Ah, yes, here we are. She's given up, although this makes a hell of a lot less sense in this version of events, because she was fighting pretty competently up until now, and she wasn't off on her own, wasting her gas and blade durability, the way she was in the anime. So it's just like, hey, we had a party victory against this boss titan, suddenly she's on her own in the middle of the street with no gas or blades. And she's like, okay, come on, how did this happen?
Watch the show.
This is a good example of how well they animate the moments in the show that they did recapture, though, because, you know, the direction is like pretty much just imitating the show point for point, but, you know, it's still stunning enough to watch in game form, and that's one of the things that sometimes doesn't work out in these kind of games. Is like the animation is so stilted that it's like, okay, why would I watch these cutscenes instead of the show, you know?
Yeah, it's still not the same as watching it in the show. It's not as impressive looking.
Yeah, I mean, we didn't get any of Mikasa's backstory either. And the games sort of have to do that thing where, you know, Japanese game developers aren't allowed to do mutilations and gore. I mean, you can bleed, but you can't show Aaron's arm getting bitten off, you know? Ooh.
Punch to the face.
Right. Aaron, in his Titan form, has a thing for Superman punches. I don't really know why.
It's weird because he's got Joker mouth, but, you know, he tries.
It's not even just Joker mouth. It's like the sides of his jaw have like 7 extra teeth, and they're raised like several inches above where his jaw should be. What is?
Okay, you see, seeing him stomp on that is just reminding me of the year that show came out. that was the year that the PS4 and Xbox One were revealed, and I'm just reminded of the Attack on Titan GIF where it's Eren smashing as the PS4 smashing the Xbox One's face into the ground.
As the Wii U just looks on in confusion and terror.
Oh man, that's still. I have to go and find that now. Oh jeez.
In any case,
yeah,
it's a pretty good show. It's a pretty good game. I'm gonna say it's a pretty good show, which is also true. But it's a pretty good game. I think if you're a fan of Attack on Titan, you'll have a lot to enjoy here. Basically, though, there's no reason to go back to Attack on Titan 1 now that this game exists, since it's pretty much the same thing, but better and with a lot more. And I suppose if you like Attack on Titan Season 3, the expansion will excite you, but since I haven't watched Season 3 yet, I don't really know what's going on there. So, yeah. Have fun.